Allison Barber. For more on all this, let's bring in Wendy Asefo, professor at Johns Hopkins University and a progressive political commentator, and Liam Donovan, National Review contributor and former National Republican Senatorial Committee aide. Thank you both for talking to us. Wendy, let me start with you. Joe Biden, when in Iowa, asked if he would nominate former President Obama to the Supreme Court. Joe Biden actually said if he'd take it, yes. Now, I'm not sure Obama would take it, but what do you make of Joe Biden?
I think that this is in true Joe Biden form, trying to pull in Obama whenever he can. Whether or not he will nominate Obama if he is elected the next president of the United States, that is to be seen. But I do think it also plays into that fanfare, that political rock starness that comes with Obama. And the people who like Obama hopefully will translate to the same people who like and hopefully vote for Biden. If he does that, that will be something that will definitely raise a lot of eyebrows on both the left and the right side of the aisle, but I am not surprised by this comment. Everyone is here grabbing at straws. We're getting down to the wire, and you know he's doing what he can.
Liam, how much pressure would you think there is on these Democratic presidential contenders that are facing, the pressure of details to file their plans to fill federal court vacancies amidst all the angst over President Trump's success in packing the benches with conservative judges? Certainly that was on Joe Biden's mind when he made that comment, don't you think?
I think it was. I think Wendy's right in that was really the only answer he could have given. If he said no, that's probably a bigger story than saying yes. And on the other hand, Joe Biden is a political footnote, if not for President Obama. And if he wants to be Postmaster General, you give him that slot. At the same time, I do think that the Democrats need to be more mindful of what they're going to do when it comes to filling the presidential or the judicial appointments. President Trump has taken over about 1/5 of the judiciary, are all Trump picks, about 1/3 of the circuit courts. And as Jim Himes from Connecticut said, Mitch McConnell has turned the Senate into a machine for confirming federal judges. So they have a lot of work to take care of.
Wendy, I think it's interesting you pointed out the fact that Biden will bring up Obama's name every chance he can, as long as he's in agreement with them or it works with his voters. But I want to talk about why Obama might hurt Biden. I mean, first of all, Biden hasn't had his support as of yet. Obama has not endorsed any one candidate. He's made it clear he will certainly go against Sanders if he actually got the nomination. But what does it say about Biden and Obama? It's an interesting relationship these two have.
Yeah, I think that is a very interesting relationship. You know, some people may even label it a bromance of some sorts, right? But I do think that Obama, he's really trying to, not step over that line of their friendship, meaning, if your friend is doing something, you want to be gun-ho, you want to support them. But I think that Obama, like many Americans, know the importance of the 2020 election. He wants to make sure that whoever gets this nomination for the Democratic ticket is the person who's going to propel the country forward, is the person that the people are behind. And that's what's important here for Obama. I think that it withstands their relationship, but really speaks to his dignity and his allegiance, so to speak, to our democracy.
Okay, so, and also his allegiance to the former president, because there are certain topics that Biden is getting heat from for being behind the president, such as Biden's Iraq war vote. Buttigieg is coming out swinging. Obviously, he's going to take advantage of this, and this is what he said. This is an example of why years in Washington is not always the same thing as judgment. He supported the worst foreign policy decision made by the United States in my lifetime, which was the decision to invade Iraq. Now, if you talk to Joe Biden about that decision, he says it was not his decision, Liam. That was the president of the United States and a decision he made, and so the vice president naturally stood behind him. But it's interesting to watch Biden try to sort of back away from the decision to move into Iraq when his supporters now are against that decision. How does he get out of that one?
Well, sure. I think Buttigieg brings this up because Buttigieg his biggest risk is that he has inexperience. So turning that around, the experience argument around on Biden, saying, no, what good is experience if you don't have judgment? And on the biggest foreign policy issue of the last certainly 20 years, he was wrong on it. But I think if you look at what Bob Gates said about Joe Biden, it goes further than that. On every major foreign policy and national security issue of the last 4 decades, he has been on the wrong side of it. And so I think if Buttigieg keeps hammering away at that, that is one of the big risks if you're Joe Biden, is this long record that you're touting. If you scratch the surface, there are some serious issues that are out of step with the modern Democratic Party.
Okay, I want to move on to Sanders because, as Biden has said, he has released his tax returns and he pointed to the president who has not. And now we're talking health, and Bernie Sanders and his doctors have, in fact, released his information. So let's put it up on the screen. His doctors say this about Bernie Sanders' health, especially this update is especially important because it's just months after he suffered a heart attack. Mr. Sanders was able to exercise to a level that is approximately 50% higher than other men in his age with a similar diagnosis. Mr. Sanders is more than fit enough to pursue vigorous activities and an occupation that requires stamina and an ability to handle a great deal of stress. I always look at these health notices and sort of sit back and wonder, you cannot possibly predict if somebody is healthy enough to undergo the enormous stress, Wendy, that the presidency of the United States carries. I mean, he's okay now, but he did just recently suffer a heart attack. And in most cases, when you have a heart attack, the likelihood of another happening is high, and no doctor can predict that.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it perfectly. At the end of the day, my family, they come from medical profession, from surgeons to doctors to nurses. The truth of the matter is you do not know what's going to happen tomorrow. And even if Bernie Sanders has his health team release this information, of course it's because we are all sensing some sort of pullback from his campaign after his health scare a few months ago. But whether or not he's able to perform 50% higher than someone of his age or his caliber, it does not mean that, God forbid, something can't happen tomorrow.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that someone who has a different health report cannot outlive him. So it's one of those things that you have to vote based on the policies and really put the health issue aside, because no one can dictate what will happen tomorrow as far as health is concerned.
Wendy Acefo, thank you. Liam Donovan, thank you both. Happy New Year.